right, everybody, welcome to another Mastering BakeSmart webinar. This week, we're covering production in BakeSmart. We're going to look at two of the ways we can handle production here. One's been around for a long time. One's a newer feature that we think helps meet the balance of detail versus time and effort to input that. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to start first by going to settings to look at the production settings. So we can see how this is configured for use in a bakery. Our bakery, again, multi-location. We do centralized production at one location and then distribute out to the stores. As you can see here, we're at the downtown store. You can see that Main Street is our downtown store. No, we're at the Main Street store, excuse me. Simple production, automatic inventory pulls. These are the four methods we have for production. Again, I told you we're going to cover two today. We're going to cover the bottom two. Full production is entering the amount of every ingredient entered, entering the lot number, opening batches, closing batches, timing them. That is way beyond the scope of anything I've ever seen a retail bakery do. If you're interested in doing that, give us a call. We'll help you set it up, but it's just beyond the scope of practicality. It exists. Simple production manual pulls. This is, hey, we're going to automatically open and close batches for you after you tell us what you're going to make, but you've actually got to deplete your inventory. We're not going to do that for you. So you're scanning bags out and handling all of that. Again, a little more labor intensive than I think most operations are going to have. So what we are going to cover today, simple production, automatic inventory pulls. We tell you what you need to make based on your standard production amounts by location, plus your order demand per customer. We're automatically going to tell you, add up those quantities, tell you to produce that much, tell you how much of each formula you need to produce all the way down to your base mixes. We're going to deplete your inventory to make sure all of that happens. And then finally, the other one we're going to cover is no production, track on hand only. We're just talking about accounts of finished items you have on hand and that gets sold. Probably the most practical for what we got going on here. But we're going to start at simple production. We'll then circle back to look at no production here, track on hand only. Like I said, we've got centralized production at Main Street. That's all that's really needed here. We can automatically create bake sheets for you. Again, a little beyond the scope of what we're going to be talking about today, but we do have the ability to really automate a lot of these functions so that batches are already being automatically created. And then as orders get taken, we actually adjust those batches and cancel up and down to make sure that order demand is met until production is actually run on those batches. Again, we're just going to focus on handling some normal stuff here. So I'm going to go back home. Now we're going to go look at products, right? So we have products that get produced, same root word, right? We also have products that get sold and resold. Those are resale items, but we have a lot of products here. Here's all of our products. I then go to our edit all list and look at our production settings. We can see here in-house production. These are produced in-house. And then we have standard production amounts by day of the week. Those are by store. So we've got Main Street, our downtown store has oftentimes the same settings. Northwest really doesn't, we don't produce anything for that. Don't tell me why, but we just don't have any values there. So we have two stores that we're really producing for. And then you can also see we have purchased items here, right? Fountain pops, bottled beverages, the deli sandwiches, whatever. I'm not getting down to pieces of lettuce and tomato for the purposes of what we're doing here. So I've ignored that entirely. But we do have cookies we make, we have breads we make, we have all sorts of sweet rolls and things like that, right? So we see that we make things, we want to have a certain amount for our cases to sell to walk-in customers. And then we're also remembering that we accept orders for these in advance that we need to produce too, right? So you may only have 4 on hand for a Tuesday, but someone ordered 10 of them, so you got to have 14. Right? So we'll do all of that math for you. The way we do that math, again, I'm going to go home. We're going to go to our back of house home screen. This is our front of house home screen where we collect the money, back of house, where we unpack boxes, I guess. I don't know. But there's a lot of boxes in the back of a bakery. I do know that. Just stacked on top of each other, miles high. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a bake sheet. Each store gets one bake sheet per day. Right? And this is where we tell you in total everything that's going to get made for that day. Because we're running centralized production, so we click on Bakesheet, I'm going to click the new button. We're going to run it for today for the Main Street location. Because we're doing centralized production, when I do this, it's going to look at all of the standard production amounts for Main Street for Wednesday, all of the standard production amounts for our downtown store for Wednesday and our Northwest store, even though those are going to be zero values. and add those together, right? So I think for like apple pie, we saw 4 for Main Street, 4 for downtown. It's going to tell us to make 8 plus whatever's on order, right? So I'm going to click continue. So it brings it all together to tell us what to make, right? All right, so there's our apple pie, right? 14 before. So 8 is our standard amount for the 4 for the 2 stores, and then 6 are on order. So we are making 14 today. So we're combining all of that together for the bake sheet that's going to get produced at Main Street. Once it's completed, we're going to transfer those 4 out, and any that are for pickup, the downtown store, to its own bake sheet to then be depleted from that store as sales are transacted. That'll all make a bit more sense once I do all of this, right? So right now we're only looking at finished goods, right? These are products. They have categories, subcategories, prices. Customers order these, right? We can see on some of these, we have some previous on hand. If the shelf life is more than a day, we can actually subtract this previous on hand that's still on a shelf in a case from the amount you produced today. So you're not overproducing against your par levels. We have a function to do that. We subtract previous on hand. Again, we'll notify you, hey, expired items will not be subtracted, right? So we do this, it adjusts all the numbers, and then we're given an actual amount to produce here, right? So that's been done. These numbers are correct, right? And then to find out how much of each formula, each underlying formula we need to make, right? Because all of these in-house production items come from formulas, from raw ingredients that are produced. We can say add input batches, right? So what we'll see here when this is completed is we're going to add to this list a bunch of items that are in purple here. I don't know if you can see that those are purple instead of black. The purple signifies that they are formulas. We can filter, just look at formulas, just look at products, right? We can toggle back and forth here, or we can look at everything. These have a predefined sort order that we've put to them. So like our chocolate cake is a base mix. It's used in a lot of these items, right? Chocolate cake donut. There's going to be a German chocolate cake down here somewhere. We've got chocolate cupcakes, chocolate vanilla cupcakes, right? It gets used a lot. So we want to make that first because it's going to get depleted as these other items get made. So I can show you this if we do this one by one, which no one's ever going to do because it takes too long, but ready to bake, we can assign it to a user. So Tinkerbell's going to make this batch. We'll mark it as complete. Did you make what you said you were going to make? You can put it in a location if you want, but really you're just going to then use this in other batches. So we're not going to worry about that. All right, so it's going to subtract based on ingredients or formulas that you've entered, these quantities of ingredients based on what your chocolate cake formula is. This should be accurate. We got it off the internet, right? Never get anything wrong there. So we'll say done, right? So now your raw ingredients have been depleted by that amount, but your on hand of chocolate cake base mix has just gone up by 47.6 pounds, right? None of it's getting transferred to other stores, nothing like that. So this all just sits here. That's done. So now if we scroll down, I'm gonna skip over some of these, but if we go to chocolate cake donut, I'm assuming it's using that mix. Here, you know what? I know for a fact that the German chocolate is, so I'm gonna scroll down here to 2. Right, I'm going to mark this as ready. Beetle Bailey's going to do this one. We're going to mark as complete, right? It's going to deplete all these ingredients again. Now here we see chocolate cake is an ingredient here. We got to pick the batch it's getting pulled from. We can choose today's batch. We're using half of that for this German chocolate cake, right? And then everything else is going to get pulled out of inventory, right? So what happened there, again, our raw materials depleted, and then half of that chocolate batch, chocolate cake base mix got depleted, but our finished goods of German chocolate cake just went up, right? So it's just moving through production. And now German chocolate cakes are available to sell in your stores or to meet the order demand and be picked up by customers. So you can click through ready to bake, complete, or we can just tag all, I'm ready to bake, assign to a baker, whatever, or just mark them as complete, right? So I've marked them as complete. It's going to say, do you want to automatically transfer the quantities requested by the other stores, right? So those 4 that need to be on hand for the apple pies, for the downtown store, right? And for any other product that needs to fill cases at the downtown store, we're going to say, yes, we're going to transfer those. So even though we only created one bake sheet for today for one store, if we look at downtown, we're going to see that it has a bake sheet now too, with individual batches on it that we can sell out of. So if we click into one of these, the apple pie, here's the 4 we made for this store. We can see we needed to produce 4 for this store. 4 were made, the 4 were completed. And this is what we got. And then here's our calculation here. We're going to, they can be transferred to other stores, which you'll see there's actually a value in the Main Street one that transferred to here. When they've been sold, we're going to reduce it. Picked up, we're going to reduce from orders. Input into other batches reduces it, which you'll see with the chocolate cake mix. Wasted, manual adjustments gets us to our on hand. You can add in our previous on hand, remaining on order, subtracting our remaining on order to pick up, get you your total available for sale in the store. All that to say, we're keeping track of this for you. I mean, that's basically what's going on. So, any questions yet, Cindy?
Well,
All right. Yeah, what's up?
I do. So I guess, this is like a huge project. So, like, do
Yeah.
you have a flow of like, well, first you need to build your inventory and then your formulas and that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. That for if you're going to do ingredient tracking and ingredient depletion, and which gets us into a cool part of actually like setting your reorder levels for your raw materials, which then allows us to automatically generate purchase orders for you, which is cool. Then yeah, you're going to want to import your ingredient lists or order item lists from your suppliers. You would then build your formulas out from that. You would link your formulas to your products. Yeah, that's a whole process. It takes some time. Once you get in the flow of it, let's say you've got all of your ingredients in. Once you're entering formulas, that moves pretty quickly. As long as you've got someone who knows the formulas decently or who can type really quickly, one of the two, it takes maybe a minute to enter a formula, right? But I mean, some bakeries have 600 formulas, right? So you're still talking 10 hours of work, which is hard to find uh, because someone who knows the formulas is probably working pretty busily in the bakery, right? So yeah, there is a time commitment involved in that. Again, that only really, if you're getting only necessary if you're getting all the way down into the inventory tracking of your raw materials, right? Which maybe you guys need to do. I feel like for a lot of our customers, it's more of a like lean back, kick the door open, and be like, we're low on flour. We need to order some more. You know what I mean? They can just kind of look in the back rooms and get a pretty good idea of what's going on. Obviously, that gets harder with multiple locations, things like that. Um, so yeah, that is the flow I'd recommend for that. That was a really long answer. Is that helpful?
Yes,
Okay,
thanks.
cool. All right, you bet. Right. So this is good. We go back to Main Street. Let's just look at our products, right? So I mean, yeah, we've got all these for sale here. Right. As you can see, I just want to follow up and know that we're telling truths here that we made 14, 4 got transferred to another store. That means we have 10 on hand, but that 6 of them are waiting to be picked up by a customer. So we really only got 4 available here to sell out of the case, which is what our par level is, or our standard production amount for this store. Uh, we can show you what the orders are, right? So George Peterson ordered 5, Melissa Dixon ordered 1. Again, the standard production amounts. So get really detailed with this. We can also, I glossed over this, I'm sorry, we can print out the formulas, which can then be, before you complete the batches, you can print out the formulas needed to produce all of these goods, as well as the total amount of each ingredient you need and how much of it's used in each formula and which it's consumed in. So here, we'll just make a, well, let's make a bake sheet. Don't know if the downtown, yeah, they're not gonna be able to do it either. Here, I can just do it again, delete. So the good thing is if you make a mistake on a bake sheet, you can move it. I can go and subtract our previous on hand. All the things I just did. I'm just going through this process again. Add our input batches, and then I'll show you the printouts for the formulas. And then we're going to move on to the no production track on hand only, which I think is a little more lightweight little more of a lightweight solution? Sure. Okay, here we go. So Bakesheet is just going to be a condensed view of this list, standard production amounts, items on order for each finished good. I don't know why I just clicked that. I was going to skip that. And then formulas, right? I'll have to look at why that's not working. That's never not worked before. Because I was only looking at products. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Right. So these are all of the ingredients that need to be made, right? Apple pie. You can see pie crust here. We need 14 of those. Pie crust is going to be a formula in here somewhere as well. But yeah, we include instructions, all sorts of things. So a lot of work gets done in a day to, there you go. There's our pie crust formula, right? Using all its ingredients. So as detailed as the info you put in is what you're gonna get out on that one, I guess is what I'm saying. All right. Again, I'm gonna go back to the list here. I'm gonna find today. I'm gonna clear these out again because I want to now look at the no production track on hand only. So I'm going to switch Main Street to no production track on hand only. I'm going to do that for all the stores just so they're consistent and the same. I'm going to go here. I'm going to update our settings to make sure that took. I'm sure it did. Back of house. So now when I go to Bakesheet, we're going to get a popover instead. And it's going to say, hey, what store are you doing this for? And I'm going to pull up my notes for this so I can follow along at home. All right. So I'd be able to choose whichever store I want to, as long as I have a global view in my user setup. Otherwise, I'd just be restricted to the current store. But we're at Main Street. We hit continue. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring up all of the in-house production items, right? With their standard production amounts, right? So if we get down to the pies here, I'm sure we'll see the 4 for the, oh, 8. Because it's combining the two, right? So Main is still the centralized production point, but it's giving us a total amount to bake here plus the on order, right? So doing that same sort of math that it was doing line by line, but it's doing it across here. What we're not worried about here is the formula part of it, right? So we also do have previous amount on hand. None of that seems to be listed here. I think because I wiped it all out when I did it before. Again, if you have shelf life more than a day, you can check the box to subtract previous on hand from quantity produced. This is an item by item setting. Once you set it though, it preserves itself into the next day, right? You don't have to come through here and be like, all right, subtract this one. We're gonna subtract this one. And every day you just whatever the global product setting is, it'll persist. So if that's turned off, obviously this doesn't appear here. So we don't have to worry about that. So we can see the orders here if we, nope, these are the orders, right? Just one person ordering 5 of these. As the orders are picked up, that's kind of, ordering so much stuff. Trying to find one that has multiple. So as they get picked up, they'll actually be, not what I want you to do. They'll be grayed out in this list, right? So you'll know that those have been picked up and you can actually see who's left to pick up individual items. From here, you can print an on-hand list or an on-order list, a transfer list by product. If you need this to be like, okay, now we got to pack it up for the downtown store. So what's going where, right? And we can get counts for all of our products for that. Save this. We're going to close this. Oh, that's by product, and then this is by store, right? So downtown needs all of this. Northwest needs all of this. Whatever. If we had again values there. Once you've reviewed all this, everything looks good. We are going to finalize the amounts from the quantity to produce field. And that's going to become like your production lot quantities, like what's actually on hand here, right? So this will update all product on hand, on order amounts based on the quantities entered. Make sure production is complete and or all reports have been printed before you continuing, right? So continue, you like to finalize for all stores or just the current one? We're going to do all of them. So it's going to kick those over to the downtown store as well. Right. So now we have that. So if we're to go back to the bake sheet again, it's already been finalized. It's going to say, hey, are you working on tomorrow's stuff now, or are we still looking at today? So if I view today, it's going to show us what the on hand is for today. And as we sell, these items are going to get depleted, right? As orders get picked up, they're going to get depleted of what's on hand here. On hand order amounts. So the way these get depleted are through sales through the POS, right? So we're walking in and we're ordering this, or same day online ordering sales, either through the web or through kiosk, right? So that these are all working from the same numbers to deplete, so that we're not over promising quantities available online, and that we can actually sell out of product. That is really about it for these. Any questions on that?
Nope.
All right. I mean, that, again, questions on this, you want to set this up, please feel free to reach out. We actually have some pretty solid documentation on everything I just went through and how this functions. So happy to share that with folks. Yeah, thanks for the time. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you on the next second Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern. Wishing everybody some sweet and fun summers out there. And we'll
Thanks,
talk to you
Mike.
later. You
All
bet,
right.
Cindy. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.